Well, good evening. Thank you for being here. I want to invite you to go ahead and open up to the book of Psalms, and we're looking at the 27th Psalm, and we're going to be spending some time here in the 27th Psalm. We're going to go ahead and read it. It's pretty short, 14 verses, not very long, but I hope you open up and hold on as we read through it. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When evildoers assail me to eat up my flesh, my adversaries and foes, it is they who stumble and fall. Though an enemy encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war rise against me, yet I will be confident. One thing I've asked of the Lord, that will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze upon the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in his temple. For he will hide me in his shelter in the day of trouble. He will conceal me under the cover of his tent. He will lift me high upon a rock. And now my head shall be lifted up above my enemies all around me. And I will offer in his tent sacrifices with shouts of joy. I will sing and make melody to the Lord. Hear, O Lord, when I cry aloud. Be gracious to me and answer me. Verse 8. You have said, seek my face. My heart says to you, your face, Lord, do I seek. Hide not, verse 9, your face from me. Turn not your servant away in anger. O you who have been my help, cast me not off. Forsake me not, O God of my salvation. 10. For my father and my mother have forsaken me, but the Lord will take me in. Teach me your way, O Lord, and lead me on a level path because of my enemies. Give me not up to the will of my adversaries, or false witnesses have arisen against me, and they breathe out violence. I believe that I shall look upon the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord. Be strong. Let your heart take courage. Wait for the Lord. I love that psalm for a lot of different reasons. There's a but you read as you read it, you feel the weight. I don't know if you do or not, but I feel the weight of whatever David is facing in his life. The weight of the world just on him. And you there's a lot of key terms, but you look at how the enemy is described, right? Evildoers, adversaries, an army, and perhaps a literal army encamped against me, false witnesses, enemies again, enemies. And you see like the gravity in the context in which David is writing this. And it's not pretty. It's not a pretty setting by any stretch of the imagination. But you see what God is going to do as we've read. You see what God is going to do. God is going to hide me, verse 5. He will conceal me, verse 5. He will lift me up, verse 5. He will lift me up in verse 6 above my enemies. He will hear me in verse 7. He's going to answer me still in verse 7. He's going to take me in. Isn't that beautiful? Even when my mother and father have left me, he's going to take me in. He's going to teach me. And I love it in light of all the darkness that is around, how David takes time to describe God. He describes it in a lot of different senses. He is my light, my stronghold, verse 1. He is my shelter in verse 5. He is my help, verse 9, my salvation, verse 9. He's my leader in verse 11. And all the, the darkness, that evil time, and all of that, enemies, adversaries, God is still there. This comes on if you're reading the book of Psalms, and we could perhaps lift this out of its context, but I think it's kind of interesting. This is in the context. You go back in verse 25 or chapter 25, Psalm 25, and we love singing Psalm 25 in verse 1, right? My God, I trust. Let me not be ashamed. Let not my enemies exalt over me. In verse chapter 24, we love this. Who's going to ascend to the hill of the Lord? Well, it's those who have the clean hands, pure heart. We, of course, know Psalm 23. You look at Psalm 22, reminiscing, foreshadowing the cross of Christ. I love Psalm 21, especially verse 12. To me, it's a little funny, but I like the image because God is aiming his bow at the face of the enemy. You see that? Now, there's no escaping the wrath of God. I'm going to put my arrow right at your nose. Watch out. So you see the buildup, at least in my mind, the buildup to chapter 27. And maybe it's arranged like that on purpose. I don't know. But you can, as you approach this and you see the darkness around in Psalm 27, you can see how easy it would be to be afraid, right? To have an intense amount of fear. But what we see David doing in this psalm is taking courage and trusting in God. In the darkness, in the weight of life, he is just trusting in God. And that's simple. We're going to camp in verse 14. Because I believe that when we take and apply verse 14 in our life, that we, in the face of difficulty and bad circumstances, I believe that we can trust in God in the same way. We don't have to be afraid. When we, first of all, what it says, the very first thing, wait for the Lord. Be strong and let your heart take courage. Wait for the Lord. Two times, right? The beginning and the end, it forms the bread of the sandwich. Wait for the Lord. Wait for God. Do you think, I don't know, but in my mind, I see David talking to himself, giving himself a little pep talk. Wait for God. Wait for God. Be patient. Wait for the Lord. You know, waiting for the Lord's, it's not easy, is it? Have you been in situations when you've got to wait for God, when you've got to wait for the Lord? You remember that time that King Saul had to wait for Samuel to come and sacrifice? And he even gave him a time. I'm going to be there on the seventh day. And Saul couldn't make it, even though Samuel was there when he said he was going to be there. Waiting's hard, isn't it? Did you know that Noah probably got a little anxious after he went in and the door was shut on the ark, and he sat there and waited, and no rain. Waited, no rain. Day after day, and there was still no rain. You think he found it hard and difficult? Probably. And we could go on story after story of people who were waiting for the Lord. And that's hard. But when we do wait for God, just back up. What does that do for us? Or what does it demonstrate? What's the nature and the character that it demonstrates as we wait for God? And I believe, without a doubt, it demonstrates a faith that God is going to be there, that God is going to show up. That when, it's hard, but it demonstrates that we trust that God is going to be there, that He is going to act. So, in the midst of darkness, again, put yourself in this psalm, in the midst of the enemies, the adversaries, those who are your enemies, wait for God. Because when we take things in our own hands, it demonstrates a lack of faith. When we try to do it by ourselves, and when we try to leave God out of the equation, where is our faith? And of course, intrinsic is that in that is that it demonstrates a lot of hope. A lot of hope in that not only do I trust God in the faith, but I expect God to act. I'm expecting it. It was what, three, maybe 3 days ago, and I woke up and there was a 70% chance of rain. And I looked at the front coming in, and I was like, "Yeah, we're about to get covered." And we hadn't had at this point we hadn't had any rain in a week or so. I was kind of looking forward to it, and I kept looking and waiting and waiting. I was expecting it, right? You're anticipating the rain. In fact, I even brought my raincoat to work because I was expecting the rain, and it never came. When we wait on God, we can wait and wait and wait. But I know because I have faith that He's going to come through. That's the difference. The weatherman, who knows? Who knows? But God comes through every single time. Every time. And when we think about it, when we have the faith, when we have the dependence, and when we are waiting for God, it is totally out of our hands. And I don't know about you, but when things are out of my hands, I have a whole lot more rest than when I'm trying to control everything. And when I think that I'm the one pulling the strings, and when I just give it up to God, it's a whole lot easier to depend on God than to depend on myself. So we wait. We wait for God, having faith that God's there. He knows. Hope that He's going to do it. He's going to come through in a way that I won't even be able to begin to explain or comprehend better than I imagine. And it's a total dependence on God. If you write in your Bible, right beside verse 14, waiting on the Lord, Isaiah chapter 40. Now, Isaiah chapter 40, in particular, verse 31, but we're going to back up and we're going to look at verse 32, 30 as well. Isaiah chapter 40, verse 30, verse 31. We love this. And if you go into the Bible bookstore or anywhere, you're going to find this thing plastered all over the walls. And rightfully so. Even youths shall faint and be weary, and young men shall fall exhausted. But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Wait for the Lord. Be strong. When we wait for the Lord, we shall renew our strength. Why should we wait for God? I think verse 20, 28 and 29 give you a pretty good reason. Several of them, actually. Have you not known? Have you not heard? And in fact, all of chapter 40 contextually. You go back and you put it in its context. Idols are nothing, but look at God. I don't know why you're trying to do this by yourself. Look at God. Verse 28, have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God. Reason number one, God's eternal. Wait for God because God's eternal. Wait for God because God is the creator of the ends of the earth. Is there anybody better to have on your side to wait upon than the creator of the ends of the earth? Wait for God because He does not faint or grow weary. You might faint, you might grow weary, but God does not faint or grow weary. So wait for the Lord. Wait for the Lord. He gives power to the faint. Wait for God. Wait for God because He gives to him who has no might so that he can increase his strength. Wait for God. Wait for God. When you try to do it yourself, it doesn't work out. But when you wait for God in faith, with hope, and total dependence, God's going to come through. All right, let's go back in verse 14. Look at verse 14 again. The first thing that it tells us and the last thing that it tells us is to wait for the Lord. The second thing, the meat here, is to be strong. Be strong. I don't know, we just watched, you may have watched it too. We just watched the World's Strongest Man, this is a qualifier, World's Strongest Man competition. These guys were monsters. They were, and quite frankly, and this is coming from, a little puny guy, but they look ridiculous. Just absolutely ridiculous. But it was fascinating to see these guys pick up and hoist over their head 400 and something pounds. It's mind blowing. But that's not what we're talking about, is it? Be strong. You remember that this is going to show my age, but I'm just do it. The Lion King. Has everybody seen The Lion King? Has nobody? Raise your hand if you have not seen The Lion King. All right, we're in a good audience so far. That shows my age a little bit both ways, okay? There's a scene on The Lion King, and I'm talking about the animated movie, The Lion King, 1990 something or another, where Simba runs off and he goes to the elephant graveyard and he's not supposed to be there. You remember? Mufasa, don't go to the elephant graveyard. All right. So Simba and Nala run off to the elephant graveyard, and the hyenas corner them. You remember the scene? And they chase them, and finally they get to the spot where they're stuck and they don't know what to do. Okay, and you remember that scene where Simba turns around and he's backed in a corner. So he gives out his best growl, and his growls are pretty puny. You remember? They're just pretty scrawny. But as he growls, Mufasa is behind him. Give that big manly roar, right? That he does. That's what we're talking about. Being strong. As you read verses 1 through 3, real quick, read them again. It seems as if David, in this situation, that he's tucking tail and running back to God. Right? That he's scared for his life and he's just running back to God because he's cornered like Simba. He doesn't know what to do. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When evildoers assail me to eat up my flesh, my adversaries and foes, it is they who stumble and fall. Though an army encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war rise against me, yet I will be confident. You see him like fleeing to God, back to God. But I propose that is a demonstration not of his weakness, a demonstration of strength. Like he knows I can't do this. So I'm running back to God because God, I know that when I get back there, that God is going to make that mighty roar. And the enemies are going to fail. That's strength. It's nothing that comes from me. It's nothing that I can do. And it certainly has nothing to do with my physical abilities. It's the Lord. I think Paul says as much in 2 Corinthians a couple times in this discussion in 2 Corinthians chapter 11. Just a couple of them. It seems like he says it all over. Who is weak? I am not weak. Who is made to fall? I am not indignant. Then in verse 30, that's verse 29, if I must boast, I will boast of the things that show my weakness. Simba backed in a corner. I can't do it. I need God. If I must boast, I will boast of the things that show my weakness. And skip on over to chapter 12. You look at verse 10. For the sake of Christ, then, I am content with weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong. So as you go back and you read the first 3 verses, and you see David perhaps in your mind tucking tail and running for God, saying, help me, help me, help me, God. He's in the right place. I don't think it's that he's scared. He just knows that he needs God. And you look at it. God is my salvation. The Lord is the stronghold of my life. My heart shall not fear. I will be confident. How? Why? God, God, God. It's all running back to God. Wait for the Lord. Be strong. And the next thing that he says, the third thing, is let your heart take courage. Wait for the Lord. Be strong. Let your heart take courage. Is it possible, just thinking out loud, is it possible for you to discourage yourself? Is it possible for you to be so in your own head that you cause yourself to be afraid? You know what I'm saying? I've told you this before. There's a certain 5-year-old at our house that has a lot of worries about life. And she looked up in bed. She looked up at the ceiling one day as I was kissing her goodnight. And she said, Dad, is the ceiling going to fall on me? What? No, I had nothing to do with this ceiling. It's perfectly secure. It's possible to be in your own head and to cause yourself to fear. This idea of let your heart take courage. Allow, right? Permit your heart to take courage. That's what he's saying. Allow yourself to be courageous. There are things in life that absolutely cause us fear, that cause us to be discouraged. Darkness, opposition, maybe adversaries, maybe when we're facing loss or trouble of any kind. Look at this. David in verse 1, David is facing darkness. Verse 2 and verse 3, David is facing opposition. Verse 5, David is in some deep trouble. Verses 7 through 10, David finds himself just lost. All those situations which cause us fear, discouragement, they're here. But what's the solution here? Well, if we're facing darkness, David says, the Lord is my light there in verse 1. The Lord is my light. If we're facing opposition, let God be your victor. I'm going to run to God, and God is my salvation. If you're in trouble, let God rescue you from that trouble. That's what we're talking about there in verse 5. If you're talking about being lost or in a situation where you can't find your way out, well, guess what? God is going to be your guide if you let Him. That's the key. Listen to me. If you let Him, let your heart take courage. If you let God be the light, if you let God be your victor, your rescuer, if you let God be your guide, I promise you, He'll do it. All those things, all those different things in life that can cause you fear, but if you let your heart take courage, He will take control. There you have it. Maybe this is where you're at in life, and you need to trust God rather than fearing life. Won't you do it? Why don't you do it? Maybe you need to give your life to Him, get right with Him, be baptized, have those sins washed away, or get back on the right path. The invitation song is for you. Won't you come as we stand and